What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined by two of the greats in this industry. One is on the IR list, Jurg and Dame. Fellas, how are we this week?
Good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy. So, spoiler alert on which one of us is on the IR list on the show, ladies and gentlemen.
That
But
was a crazy shot.
All right.
he has toughed it out at least. So he's still an Iron Man, at least in my eyes. But doing good as per usual. I say this every single. Well, I don't technically say it every single week, but I imply it. Recording time is the best time, and Somewhat Sports Podcast is best sports podcast out there. And so we're here to produce another banger of an episode.
I got no updates. I'm miserable still on the IR. Got nothing to do. But at least I got this to do. So here I am.
Well, I guess that's a compliment, but we move. Dame, I hope. Well, Jurg hopes you feel better.
I don't move.
You can't move. That's right. You're unable to. But you know what does move? The NBA world, because year-round, just nonstop movement, chaos. Even after the NBA Finals, there's just a plethora of storylines. So, spoiler alert, it's going to be an NBA-dominated episode this week. We're just going to talk about news. The draft is tonight, so, possible trades will happen. We're also going to talk about some names that could be on the move soon. Free agency is also right around the corner. So, yeah, NBA Finals have come and gone. The Warriors are NBA champions. Steph Curry wins Finals MVP, much to Damian's dismay. The Stanley Cup Finals we're in the middle of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Colorado Avalanche are up 3-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jurg, however, thinks the series is not over, so we're not gonna, make any concrete statements yet. But Jurg is gonna talk about that next week because there's a bunch of NHL news, so we just figured why not just make a whole thing out of it, everything at once next week. So we'll have a large NHL segment to talk about next week, and then maybe there's gonna be some NFL news. Hopefully, I hope so. Training camp is right around the corner. And, maybe by the time this comes out, some blockbuster trades will occur that we're just going to miss because that's how life is. But there is enough news to talk about this week to make it an episode. So let's get into it. Guys, Kyrie Irving's in the news. Kyrie Irving and the Nets are apparently at an impasse in terms of contract negotiations. I believe Kyrie wants a long-term contract. The Nets are unwilling to give Kyrie Irving a long-term contract. Understandably so. So Shams reported that the Lakers and the Knicks are possible suitors. So we talked about this, in the past. This was probably this news was probably leaked by Kyrie Irving's camp to try and gain leverage on the Nets, because Knicks and Lakers, it would not be easy to obtain Kyrie Irving, and I just think those two teams specifically, rival team. Lakers, LeBron James, and then just them being the Lakers. So obviously this is going to have some noise attached to it. But yeah, I think Kyrie's just trying to obtain leverage here, and he named those two specific teams. I don't know if he'll have leverage. I think the leverage he will have is that if he does walk, and I think this was reported by Woj, if he does walk, there's a possibility KD might want to ask out. So teams are hoping for this to happen so they could kind of gear up some trade packages for KD. I think that's a little too, down the line, a little too extreme. But yeah, Kyrie Irving and the Nets right now are not seeing eye to eye. So guys, this is great because fuck the Nets, and this seems to be like a ticking time bomb. This will be crazy if Kyrie Irving and KD are both gone out of there this offseason. I think that would be absolutely nuts. I don't know if KD will be gone, but I mean, if Woj is reporting that he's kind of pissed off, or not pissed off, but he's going to be all right, I'm out if Kyrie Irving leaves, that's going to be kind of wild, to be honest. What an offseason. What a failed experiment this was. But let's talk about Kyrie Irving. If he were to leave, now apparently the Lakers are considered the most dangerous threat to getting Kyrie Irving from the Nets. I don't see the Knicks getting him. It wouldn't make sense for the Knicks to get him. Kyrie Irving is, just a team virus. And I think the Knicks absolutely don't need that, especially because we have a nice young core going. We don't need Kyrie Irving to kind of brainwash these dudes. We don't need him to ruin everything. There's no shot he would mesh well with Tom Thibodeau, let's be honest. But and as a Knicks fan, and I probably speak for Dame here, I do not want Kyrie Irving. The idea of Kyrie Irving is way better than Kyrie Irving, the player, the actual player. So I don't think he'll go to the Knicks. I do think the Lakers smoke is real. I do think that there's reports that he was in contact with LeBron about possibly reuniting. I don't know how this will work because I'm assuming it would be a sign and trade. But if he opts out of his player option, would he be an unrestricted free agent, Jurg? Like, what's the deal on that?
Yeah, if he opts out, he'll be on restricted free agent. He could just test free agency. So,
Okay,
like
okay, so
my
it,
bad, just the whole thing. The Nets do want to keep him, but
yeah,
Kyrie's trying to dictate everything.
yeah. So this is, I think the Lakers thing is actually real. Um, I don't know how they would get Kyrie Irving because I don't know how the money would work because you still have Russell Westbrook and that's not an easy contract to get out. We're in the offseason now, so it's the Kendrick Nunn, THT, and 2 second-rounders and a 2029 first-round pick season. So apparently that'll get it done for Kyrie Irving, according to Lakers fans. But it's going to be difficult for the money to work. Russell Westbrook is still there, so I don't know, man. I think I understand why the Nets don't want to give him a contract, but then again, like there's such a domino effect to for him leaving because your guy KD would be frustrated, and if KD's frustrated, then like what happens? Like I don't even know if I want to mention Ben Simmons. Like where does he fit in all this? He's kind of like wow, but I mean. What other teams could you guys see Kyrie Irving going to if he does leave? But Dame, I'll start off with you on this one. What do you think about this whole situation?
Well, I don't believe that the Lakers stuff is like real, like you do. I do think it's smoke because I just don't see any realistic path to where it can happen. One or two, it could happen one or two ways. It could happen from a Russell Westbrook deal, but obviously, why would the Nets want Russell Westbrook in any kind of deal? It's not like the Lakers have any enticing things to attach to Russell Westbrook to make it better. And the second one would be Kyrie Irving taking a minimal level exception, $6 million a year, which I absolutely don't see happening either. I get a lot of people are saying he like lost $15 million last year because money isn't that important to him, so he'll do it again. But I think because he lost all that money last year, he won't want to do that again for another year, regardless of the situation. So I don't really see any of that Lakers stuff being real. I just think as long if you use the Lakers and the Knicks, those are like the
Noise, yeah.
worst two possible options for the Nets. So they're just trying to get leverage on it because obviously if he goes to the Lakers, that's like the West Coast rival, like LeBron, KD, stuff like that. And then you have the Knicks, obviously the rival across the bridge. So you have that. So I think Kyrie Irving and his camp are using those teams very well to their advantage. But I don't see any smoke with the Lakers. With the Knicks, I think if it was previous management, I would have believed it. But I think this management is smart enough to know that although Kyrie Irving is a superstar talent, he's not reliable and he's not the kind of guy you need to bring into this around this young core to try to mentor them because he's not a good leader and he's not a good guy to look up to for these guys. So I don't think any of that is real. When it comes to another team that I could think could be a possible option, is just this. I feel like this team is always in on any kind of star or superstar that becomes available free agency or trades is the Miami Heat, and I
Mm.
already saw a report with them. So I know Kyle Lowry has had his injury issues, and now Pat Riley came out and kind of questioned uh his fitness and how he comes into camp in shape and stuff. So I think Kyrie Irving there is definitely an option. I mean, so any star or superstar is always an option to Miami. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if they'd get rid of Lowry or try to make both of them work or something like that. I don't know, but the Heat are always a team to keep an eye on. But at the end of the day, if I had to put my money on it, I'd say somehow, some way he stays on the Nets, whether it's a long term deal, short term deal. I just don't see how the Nets don't like just give into it because they have KD because obviously they don't want to upset KD. So yeah.
Man, Jurg, how would you feel about that if Kyrie to Miami smoke is up there? I don't know if he'd fit with Miami, bro. I don't know if Pat Riley, has the patience to deal with someone like Kyrie, bro. I mean, I know there's a Jimmy Butler friendship, but I don't know if Kyrie would fit in that strict environment. Go
I
ahead.
mean, there was a Kevin Durant friendship, and look what he did in Brooklyn. You didn't want to get one shot to be able to play with Kevin Durant more. He played 29 games this season. Like, just and to Dame's point as well, just like even though it's an unrealistic possibility, like people trying to point out that Kyrie like gave up that money last year, there is a difference between giving up money and still having that big chunk still there compared to signing a new contract and signing for way below market value. Kyrie is not going to take a discount this offseason. He won't, let's be real, he wants to get paid max superstar money because in his mind, he believes he is a superstar. Um, so there's that. In terms of him to Miami, I don't want to see that. Like, I think I think Miami should go after another star slash superstar this offseason. I believe Pat Riley. I believe Pat Riley will go after another star slash superstar this offseason. But I don't want it to be Kyrie. And like to your point, Chris, it's all about. And I don't understand the fascination. It's not just NBA Twitter. It's even people who aren't heavy sports fans. Like they comment on the Kyrie situation here and there on social. Like just shut up. You know nothing about the situation, please. Like people don't understand. They try to paint Kyrie as a martyr and try to paint him as someone who's so misunderstood and it's all working against him and the system is against him and all that crap. No, it's not. Ever since he left LeBron, he has acted on the basketball court. We're not talking about his off-court stuff. We're talking about on the basketball court. His attitude has been that of a petulant child. He believes he should be given so many things that he has not earned, that he does not deserve. And this is one of those things where he believes outright he should, like, the Nets should not have any hesitation. Now, do I think the Nets will eventually cave in and give him whatever he wants? Yes, because in part, Kevin Durant needs to be made happy. Now, here's the thing. Kevin Durant, a big reason why KD is probably, like, pushing the Nets is because he already, like, some may forget this, he already signed his extension with Brooklyn. He's there for 4 years, and I don't think that 4-year extension had a player option with it. So Kevin Durant is locked and signed for the next 4 seasons in Brooklyn. He's not going to do that alone or with Ben Simmons as his wingman, which AKA might as well be him being alone, at least offensively. Like, Durant is not, like, this failed experiment. He is not going to allow Kyrie to leave. He is going to make sure that the Nets go after, like, do what they can to keep him. So I think ultimately the Nets will do what they can to keep Kyrie. But at the same time, like the fact that he's quote unquote surprised. I mean, maybe I know it hasn't been said, but if any part of his brain, excuse me, if any part of his brain is surprised that there's an impasse, then this dude is delusional. Yeah, no duh that there's an impasse, no duh that they're hesitating on signing you, because you're never there for the team. You're never there for the team. This season, he only played 29 games. The first season in Brooklyn, like he kept getting hurt, and they eventually just sat him out when they also realized KD wasn't going to play the whole year. And then that second season, most important time of the year, he got hurt. Like let's be real here, Kyrie Irving, all he does is get hurt. All he does is miss games. Like it is just utterly insane that we we treat him as like a no brainer. This that yes, the talent is there, but everything else matters. And in terms of everything else on the court, that doesn't have to do with talent. He fails at it flippantly. So I'm not surprised that the Nets have had reservations. Do I think they'll keep him at the end of the day? Yes, because I think that's just better for the culture, aka keep Kevin Durant happy and keep him in Brooklyn. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised that it's come to this point because with Kyrie Irving, it always gets to this point because, like I said, he is a petulant child.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if there's one guy that could kind of like deal with this shit, it would be LeBron, right? I
Yeah,
mean, he's
because
gone through it
LeBron,
before.
LeBron did, and like I think and you know what they say, Chris, is like time makes you more thankful for things. Like time heals all wounds. Like I think Kyrie understands more so now like what LeBron did for him. Not
Yeah, because
directly.
Kyrie can't win shit.
Yeah, I think he appreciates what LeBron did for him and everything that LeBron brought to Cleveland when Kyrie was there. And I think I'm not surprised if he actually does want to go back to that because like that's the most success you ever had. Like people, I've said this before. I know I've said this to you guys. I think you guys agree. If LeBron never returns to Cleveland, the summer of 2014, Kyrie Irving would become the Damian Lillard of the East. Like all, all,
Absolutely.
all the individual accolades, all the individual highlights, maybe a playoff series win at best, but never make it far and never win anything. Like Kyrie is just Damian Lillard if he never got LeBron. So that's
I
my
would
take.
say worse. I don't think he would win as much as Lillard does on his own.
Probably not. They had the first pick twice with Kyrie.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
fifth
granted
Lillard
pick.
wasn't that close.
granted he was pretty young, but I just there's
Yeah,
no evidence that Kyrie would,
yeah.
is a
Yeah,
winner. Um,
I'm just saying that's the archetype. Like
you know, well, obviously, like if Kyrie were to leave due to the money, it would have to be a sign and trade, right? Right, Jurg?
if then like for the Nets to get something back, like I
Just
like
for
I think
contracts to work, I guess.
With what team?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it would likely be because there's a very specific market for him. Like it would have to be a Lakers. It would have to be maybe Clippers as well.
Yeah.
So I would assume, like I don't see
Clippers have
like
the contracts to match it. They have like Reggie Jackson, Morris,
Luke
Kennard. They have
Kennard,
like these
yeah.
guys on like $15 to $20 that
so.
they
It
could
would
just
be a sign
package
and
and
trade.
match.
It would be a
Yes.
sign and trade. So I think, guys, I mean, look, this is very far fetched thinking. So say Kyrie does get like he's out of there, sign and trade. I'm not saying for a specific team, but then this will lead to the domino effect of KD leaving. There's a trade, right? This is just extreme thinking right now. You would
When
obviously get a package for KD. Is this the worst thing in the world for the Nets? Is this the worst thing in the world just to like kind of
Yeah,
redo it?
they put so much money and assets
No, no,
into
no.
this
Yeah,
team.
yeah. From that perspective, yeah.
Ownership is gonna be pissed, but
Oh,
from
everyone's
the
getting
front
What
pissed.
office,
ownership, bro? No, dude. The reason why KD and Kyrie went to the Nets it's because it's the closest thing to owning a franchise as a player. They get to do whatever they want. Obviously, they're like the owners don't do shit, bro. There was a report that they're like the players are like using money to buy cribs for their girls and shit. What is ownership gonna realistically do, bro? There's like the Nets have always been a laughing stock. Like, does this really matter? It's gonna be the biggest failure in NBA history, sure, but like, I mean, you still get some like pieces out of it, like some like picks, obviously, all this and that. It's just like I don't know if it's the worst thing in the world, man. If it's like if Kyrie's leaving, there's no shot they win a championship. Like
But
KD's on the
where
like
does
getting
Durant
older,
go
man.
then? Where does Durant go is the thing. Like if we're you know calling it ding dong the witch is dead on Kyrie's tenure there, then we have to come up with a scenario of what team can get Kevin Durant, and it's like KD's only going to want to go to like 2 to 4 teams at most in this league.
I mean,
I'm not so sure KD would really ask out. He just seems like a guy that's so content, like he doesn't care
he
that
doesn't
much about everything
care.
else. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think it's an absolute lock if Kyrie leaves that he'll ask out
But I mean,
because
if
he just
Woj is
doesn't care.
reporting it though, if Woj is reporting stuff like that, then I think there's
He's
some.
been wrong before.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah, but
that's
he's talking about the perspective of like other executives from other teams hoping that that's what happens. He wasn't really reporting straight from KD's camp that KD would ask out.
Woj
KD
is
would be
not
frustrated, of course, but
Woj is not an insider who is closely connected to the players and their camps. He is majorly tied with front offices
mhm.
and groups like that. He's not close to most of these guys' camps, especially the big guys. Like he's a great insider. Don't get me wrong, but he's not close to the players. He's just not.
Yes, be careful with your words there, Jurg. That's your coworker.
well, all right. Yeah, we won't disclose that information, but I mean, this is just great though. Seeing the Nets just kind of fizzle out.
No,
This
it's
is
beautiful. It's beautiful.
beautiful. Scum teams deserve scum shit happening to them, bro. And no, this is KD. This is what you get, bro. You wanted this when you quote unquote chose Brooklyn, but this is what you get. So, props to Kyrie for making this shit happen, for literally blowing up the Nets. Whatever. I mean, this is gonna be pretty interesting next few weeks. I understand why the Nets don't want to pay him. I mean, don't want to like sign him to a long term extension, but like there's consequences, I guess, unfortunately, when you're dealing with someone like Kyrie Irving. But enough talk on Kyrie. Bradley Beal. There was a report going on that he is opting out of his player option and going to test free agency as he becomes an unrestricted free agent. And then I believe Bradley Beal debunked that report and said, "Wait, huh? LOL," which means that he hasn't. But I've seen stuff like this happen where some shit leaks. And it's not on the player's timing, and then they debunk it, and then it eventually happens. I think
Yeah.
we saw with Gordon Hayward. Remember, like when it got leaked that he
Mhm.
was going to sign with the Celtics, and then he was like, "Well, I haven't made my decision yet." And then what happened? He signed with the Boston Celtics. I just think when a player, isn't like announcing it on his own, and it kind of leaks without them knowing.
And they all like hate the media, so they just don't want the media to be right about anything.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to control their own narrative.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess it hasn't happened yet, but I do believe this is what's gonna happen. I think Bradley Beal's gonna opt out. Now he's gonna wait a little bit for the smoke to come down, and then he's gonna test free agency. So, which means if he's testing free agency, I think he's bound to leave the Wizards. Which, my God, or he could just do that for like to get more money. I think he just re-ups with Washington. Which I could see happening, but because I don't know if Bradley Beal would like do them dirty like that to a point where he just leaves and they get nothing in return. I don't necessarily know the relationship, but I would assume that's not the case. But say, for example, he does leave. Where do we see Bradley Beal going? He said that he wants to play for a winner, but if you're like going to command crazy money, then where are you going to realistically go? That's a winner. So, any ideas on what Bradley Beal might do or where he might end up?
I
Jurg,
think
let me start
I
off with you.
I think he's staying because I'm just
But
looking
is
at.
that correct, Jurg? Like if he opts out and becomes a unrestricted free agent, he could like re-sign for the max.
Yeah, he can.
Okay.
Guys do this, and his 5 year supermax would be 5 years, $246 million. I,
Yeah.
he's staying in Washington. The time to leave, truthfully, would have been within the last couple years. I think he's just there for the money. Like you could talk about you can make the Damian Lillard jokes for him, and he's just grinding. He's loyal to the soil and all that crap. Let's be real here. Like he wants that final payday. And he's gonna get it from Washington. No other team. Like here's the thing, no other team can give him that contract in free agency, and B, no other team can sign and trade for that because when the Miami Heat did the Jimmy Butler sign and trade a couple years ago, they weren't allowed to get him on the 5 year max that Jimmy was eligible for. Then it had to be on 4 years. So even a sign and trade will not get him the 5 year max. Like he can't get his 5 years then be traded. And when you sign a super max, correct me if I'm wrong, Dame. Like guys usually aren't traded within the first year or two of the super max.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like if you're Beal, you just look at the landscape realistically. Like who could you go to that's a contender that could also pay you well, that can realistically pay you right now? Miami has cap issues that they have to figure out. Maybe a sign and trade there, but again, you're not getting your full 5 years. Boston, no. Milwaukee, no. Philly, I mean, they have Harden, so no. Toronto, I don't even know what the situation in Toronto would be.
I don't think
Chicago,
Toronto would be interested in him, to be honest. He doesn't
right,
fit their mold.
right. Chicago, no. They're keeping Levine. If Brooklyn loses Kyrie, maybe do you bring in Beal? Like
I could see that.
maybe Atlanta for a year, like for the last 2 years, I think there have been like the idea of Beal there is tantalizing, but is there any smoke to it? Who knows? Cleveland, who knows? Charlotte, like, and then you look at the rest of the East: Knicks, no; Pacers, no; Pistons, no; Orlando, no. And then in the West, like Phoenix, no; Memphis, no; Golden State, no; Dallas, maybe at one point; Utah, no; Denver, no, they're getting guys back on contracts. Minnesota, no, they have Anthony Edwards. Like, it's just, I see so many no's here that to me, he's just going to stay in Washington. And I like, Dame, tell me now, like, you've gotten the same vibe. Like, if he would have left, he should have already left. I think he's just there to get his bag.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know he has that connection, with Jason Tatum. There's always been that Celtics rumors, but I see no avenue for him to go to the Celtics at this point. And then one team you did mention, I kind of like that fit, but I just don't see how it's gonna happen now. Is the Hawks? I think him and Trae Young backcourt would be lethal, but I don't know if the Wizards. I mean, I don't know if the Wizards are interested in a John Collins kind of trade because that's what the Hawks seem to be offering a lot of teams to try to get more pieces around Trae Young and stuff. But um, I kind of agree with you. I don't see him going anywhere. I mean, like you said, if he was gonna leave anywhere, he's gonna leave a couple years ago or like last year, something like that. Now he's obviously I wouldn't say he's out of his prime, but he's leaning towards the side where he's kind of going out of his prime. So he's not gonna have the same impact like he did a couple years ago, but it's hard to pass up 5 for 250, unless you go into like an absolute like clear cut winner. Like the Hawks, I wouldn't even say are worth leaving $250 million for. A team like the Celtics that just made the finals, you like link up with your boy Jason Tatum. I would say yes. I just don't see an avenue for that happening without them giving up Jaylen Brown, because I don't think a Marcus Smart kind of center deal would be it. The team that's interesting that we kind of mentioned with the Kyrie thing would be the Clippers. Feel like the Clippers are always looking for ways to improve, and like you mentioned, they have really good contracts with good players that can kind of make the money work. And a Bradley Beal, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard trio would be one of the best championship contenders in the league, absolutely. But yeah, I just don't see. I just personally don't see him asking out. If he doesn't ask out, I don't think they're gonna trade him.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, more power to Bradley Beal. Like nothing against the fact that he wants his bag, of course. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have every right to. But at this point, I mean, you talk about wanting to go to a contender. Like Like just because even the Clippers, like the Clippers' assets are also pretty limited because they have made that Paul George trade all the while back, um, and the Kawhi and getting Kawhi. Like there's there's a lot of limitations. Like the Wizards can get contracts, but they're not necessarily getting assets back. And when you're trading a Bradley Beal, you want to get the assets back. So I think that's going to be the ultimate sticking point if Washington were to consider doing a sign and trade for him. Which I think at this point, like he's shown so much loyalty, I think Washington would be willing to do so for him. But it needs to be for the right price. And like kind of the only team we've mentioned here, well, the only teams like you said, it's between Boston and Atlanta. Atlanta has a lot of young pieces. They could give up some first round picks as well. Boston can give up the most tantalizing piece, which would be Jaylen Brown. But if you're Boston, would you want to give up Jaylen Brown and like break up Brown and Tatum to get Beal and Tatum? Like, does Beal and Tatum give you a better shot to win than Brown and Tatum? Is the question. Like,
Yeah, but I think Jaylen Brown is a better fit for that team than Bradley Beal would be. To be honest, like we saw what Jaylen Brown did in the finals. Like he was their best player by far.
yeah, great two way
I
player
don't.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bradley Beal doesn't play defense that Jaylen Brown does.
Yeah, neither does Tatum. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where this whole Bradley Beal saga has been so confusing, bro. Like, I hate that he like does this because like you just know that the end result is him staying in Washington, bro. You're gonna choose the money, which is completely fine. Like that's generational wealth on top of what he's already made. But like, bro, I don't want to hear this going to a winner and want to win here in Washington, bro. Like, you're not winning shit in Washington. You're gonna be competing for a playing spot, and that's it. But yeah, it's difficult, Jurg. I kind of do see this whole Kyrie Irving situation playing out. If he leaves, and I think Bradley Beal could end up going to I think that's a good possibility if he goes to Brooklyn, right? But then like I don't know, but it's kind of difficult to see how the money works in that situation.
what can the Nets? So what it would have to be, and this would be a heck of a dual sign and trade. The Nets would have to sign and trade Kyrie to, let's just say, the Clippers,
Okay.
where they get the contracts back.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that like the sign and trade for Kyrie will increase his salary to where the Clippers would give up like 3 players and some whatever else they could give, and then the Nets then have to turn that around
Mm-hmm.
and they give some of those players because the thing is that you still need pieces around guys to build a contender. So they wouldn't give up every single piece they got in that trade uh, for it. And what they would have to do, they would have to give up like it could be a 3-team deal between them with a couple signing trades. That would be a very complicated trade tree to say the very least. Where the Nets give some pieces back to the Wizards. Maybe the Wizards give up another piece. Like maybe the Clippers can get Kyrie and then like something from Washington. Like to because if you're giving up Beal, you're essentially rebuilding, and like you give up pieces from the Wizards. Like it would be a highly complex situation. A 3-team deal would probably be best with those 2 sign and trades in there. But that'd be the only case study. But again, like I I don't think Bradley Beal's turning down that 5-year 250. I think it's too great for him, and I think he's made peace with the fact that it's a championship ain't happening in his career as of now. It's just not.
I mean, he'll be with Chris Paul and Damian Lillard and James Harden when all is said and done. But who knows? It's on him. All right, let's move on. Rudy Gobert. You want to talk about Rudy Gobert?
Fuck that guy.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean there was smoke about Rudy Gobert possibly going to Chicago.
Actually, I was in the city yesterday and I passed by a club he was at.
You were in the city this year?
Yes.
That's crazy. Which club?
Fuck. Mass something with an M. I don't know.
If Dame wasn't injured, he would have gone up to Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something car.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
What?
yeah, you're gonna slide Rudy Gobert up?
No, I was no, nothing.
Okay. Yeah. So there's smoke about him going to the Chicago Bulls. We've talked about the whole Utah Jazz thing. I don't know what the package would
We
be.
talked about him enough. Move
Yeah.
on.
All right. Yeah. DeAndre Ayton is also in the news now. We kind of talked about this last week. We were kind of talking about possible trades, possible splashes. DeAndre Ayton is set to hit restricted free agency. Him and the Suns did not agree on a max contract extension last year. So, I mean, all signs point to him kind of leaving the Phoenix Suns. And then, of course, reports came out that the the Pistons are gonna heavily pursue DeAndre Ayton when free agency hits. So, and this leads to the report. They traded Jeremy Grant to the Portland Trailblazers for just peanuts. A 2025 first rounder. I don't know if it's theirs or Milwaukee's. Um,
Milwaukee's.
okay, yeah, that and like I think some second rounders are involved as well. I think they actually move up in like the second round. I don't know, something like that. But overall, it only took a 2025 first rounder to get him off the books. We'll talk about that. But they clear up cap space here. I think they're gonna offer the full max to DeAndre Ayton, and I think he'll sign with them. I don't know if Phoenix will match. I don't think they will match because Sarver's a cheap fuck. Um, so I think DeAndre Ayton, this whole noise with him in Detroit, he goes to Detroit now. He'll get his money. He'll play with Cade. Guys, dude, I'm telling you, Pistons are trending up. I think a Cade and DeAndre Ayton combo is very enticing. Very enticing. So, like, I kind of like what they're building over there. But let's just talk about DeAndre Ayton here. Yeah, so all signs point to him going there. I would be shocked if he goes. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but like for me, I think the heavy favorite is Detroit right now. And then you have like other teams in the NBA, like the Spurs, who kind of need a center, who also have money, I believe. I don't know, not as much as the Pistons here, but I like other teams that could use like a star center like him. Maybe Chicago, but I don't know if like there's a huge difference between Ayton and Vucevic, to be honest. And Vucevic is cheaper, I believe.
Well,
But
your shooting also gets worse. Let's be real.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's so difficult because like Aiden's played with the best point guard like possible for him. And like you're literally going to a worse situation in terms of like who gets you the ball. But I mean, look, it's all about the money for him at this point. So what do we make of the DeAndre Ayton smoke? Jurg, let me start off with you on this one.
I'm upset because ain't nobody wanted to credit the Somewhat Sports Podcast because we brought this up before anybody else. Our podcast broke this news, so I don't whatever tweets you see about it, people on Instagram and all that, you got to comment Somewhat Sports got to this first because we talked about this first. I'm just saying, so acknowledge us as the podcast that said Ayton to the Pistons was happening. Now, in terms of the fit, it totally makes sense. They need a real big man there. Like I know people are like Isaiah Stewart this and Marvin Bagley that. No, like DeAndre Ayton would be a very much welcome addition to that team that just needs like real size and strength. A double-digit rebounder, he an easy double per game. I think him getting to work with Cade Cunningham, the pick and roll between those two would be very very good to say the least. Like you're not going to force a lot of turnovers there with how tall Cade is, and if he hits Aiden at the right point every single time. I think it'd be great. In terms of giving Dwayne Casey's still the head coach, if I'm not mistaken, and you give him you increase the talent that he gets to work with there. I think is great. You open up the 4 spot now easily for someone to you put the right player, which is like a stretch 4 next to Ayton, so he can operate mainly inside the paint and at the mid range and on the block. I think the Pistons, we talked about them trending up. They look like that they could have a really good offseason. The cap space that they open up for Grant, they could sign Ayton and they could also make another move for another pretty good free agent that still had like a 10, 12, $15 million price tag. The Pistons are doing good things this offseason, man. They want to take up they want to go up several levels. They were the 14th seed last year. They want to make it to the play-in now, and this is a really big time move for this organization to take, and more power to them. I think it's a great fit overall. Offensively, it just makes sense, and he's worked with the best point guard possible for him. And I think him leaving, it would be a little bit of a struggle, like without CP3. But what I think it would do for Ayton is I think it would just let him be the focal point of the offense. And I think that's when we could really see like what his true scoring potential could be for a team. So I think if you're Detroit, you go make the move. The question will be, can you get here's the thing, and this happened a couple of years ago when it came to the whole Kevin Durant to Nets thing, is that it was just a signing at first, but then it became a sign and trade. So it wouldn't be a surprise because there's still the moratorium. If the Pistons offer him, Aiden's accepting it / ready to accept it, and the Suns come in last second, like can we just work a sign and trade out so they get something back for him? That none of that would surprise me in any way whatsoever. But yeah, I think that's the likely path it's going to go down because I think the Suns, Sarver, like you said, he's cheap, he's stupid. I detailed this, I think, when we talked about it. Like he has willingly let all-star caliber players go in the past, and he's about to do so again. They got to at least try to get something here, and I think James Jones is going to make a real push to get something back for DeAndre Ayton, because if they lose him for nothing, that team with an older Chris Paul, we love Chris Paul, but he's older, and once again Devin Booker, the not as big of a fan of his, I think, as I think people are starting to lose like the luster there for him. Suns aren't going to look too great next season. We're talking about a first seed that could fall all the way down to the play-in next year. That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
you're crazy, Jurg. I like it. I
Wow.
like. Wow. I mean, but hey, man, like I know it's Detroit, but honestly, he's not walking into the worst situation in the world. Like money aside, like obviously you get that, but like I don't think like you're playing with Cade Cunningham. Like I like obviously it's not Chris Paul, but like that's a great young talent. And like you said, Jurg, I think he'll be like him and Cade will be the focal point of the offense, the two primary options. And then like I always like think it's cool to like be part of a rebuilding team, like be a big part of a rebuilding team that like has the pieces to make, not a big splash, but like some like big progression, especially for Detroit. I think honestly they'll have cap space even after they sign Aiden to a point where they could sign some role players. I could see Detroit possibly, fighting for a play-in spot next year if
No,
all goes well.
I know, like, in no way do I think it would be a bad move for Detroit. What I'm saying is that
Yeah. I know. I
if
see what you're
you're
saying.
Phoenix, like, this is like, we talk about championship windows. Like, I've never seen a championship window open and close so fast like we saw for them. They had 2 seasons,
Can't
and
say I feel bad to be honest.
and it's
Like,
gone. So
that's a scumbag team. Phoenix Suns are really good, but like there's a lot of cunts on that team. I don't care. Sorry to my friend Bernie, who's a diehard Suns fan. But yeah, Dame, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys that I like the fit with the Pistons. Putting him next to Cade, Aiden's obviously still young, still entering the prime of his career. Um, so I do like that fit, but then I also see it from the Suns' perspective, based on the fact that they don't view him as a max player, and honestly, neither do I. But they're in a position where they need to maximize all the years remaining of Chris Paul's career. Honestly, I want to say his prime because I don't think he's in his prime, but they need to maximize any years that he has left because obviously he just made the finals. They were just a 1 seed in the West. So they could have made the finals easily again. Um, so they should overpay for Ian, in my opinion, to get him back because I don't see any other way that they're gonna improve their team after they lose Ian. I personally view Ian as a pretty soft center that has so much raw talent that he just doesn't get into because he's kind of soft and he's not as aggressive as he should be. And with a guy like Chris, you kind of mentioned this. You have a guy like Chris Paul that's kind of putting you in spots to succeed and getting you the ball. It's not going to get much better than that. And I get it. Cade's amazing. I love Cade. He's going to be a superstar in this league, but he's not Chris Paul especially when it comes to putting people in the right spots. Um, the Suns are going to need to make this sign and trade. They're going to have to do whatever they can to make the sign and trade because if they lose Ain for nothing and you just go straight to as a free agent to the Pistons, that drop off is going to be big because I don't know who's going to play center for them. Is JaVale McGee going to start at center for them for 82 games? Like, I don't know. Who else are they going to go out there and sign? I mean, I Mitch Robinson is a free agent, but
That's
I don't
enough.
see how I don't see how that's a possible way of him getting there. But I do see it, like I said, I do see it from a Suns perspective. I don't think he's a max player, but they need to do everything possible they can to maximize the last few years of Chris Paul's career because he doesn't have many left, and he's still making everybody better around him and still making the Suns a championship contender every year. But if you just keep losing pieces here and there, like it's gonna just get harder and harder for that team to succeed.
Has Cam Johnson re-signed yet?
No.
Because he's gonna need to get paid too. I mean, no, but
Mm-hmm.
stay paying Landry Shamet all that money, man. Like this is just I don't feel bad. Like I really do not feel bad. They were on cloud nine, bro. After the finals appearance, there's just I don't know. They might go small ball center. I don't know who that'd be, but like
the only way that they can fix their center woes and like have a shot is you need to get in contact with Detroit today and have them pick Jalen Duran with their pick and that pick be part of the sign and trade. Because
but what at the
you're not
five
gonna
at their
you're not
fifth
gonna
pick, Jurg?
but again, you're not drafting Jalen Duren for him being your 5th overall pick. You're drafting him to get DeAndre Ayton. Like,
Wait, but I mean, is a sign and trade inevitable here?
I mean, like, it would certainly help. Like, and again, you give them the 5th pick and what they want. You give Killian Hayes maybe another future first, like, or 2 future firsts. Like, yeah, you're giving up stuff for Ayton, but that could end up just being the case, and it could make things easier for you. Like, secondly, like, the Pistons don't have to do it, but again, we've seen this happen before where teams are able to convince other teams to do sign and trades. Like, it may not make sense, but teams have been able to convince other teams to do sign and trades before. So that's just how it is. People forget, well, with Bosch and LeBron when they signed in Miami, those were technically sign and trades, but Miami just sent 2nd-round picks back to Toronto and Cleveland. A lot of people forget that detail. Like, but they didn't have to do it. So it's a really weird thing that happens. And I'm saying if we go down the sign and trade route for the Pistons, you pick Jalen Duren not because he's going to be your 5th overall pick. He's going to be the Suns' 5th overall pick or whatever overall pick the Pistons have.
Or say they do trade the fifth pick to Phoenix, right? I think Phoenix could use that to package as a package chip to get another center in the NBA.
But who's that center?
I don't know. That's going to the deep end. But I'm just saying. I mean, well, a 5th pick is
Gobert to Phoenix.
I mean, Dame, would you like that?
Carl Anthony Towns?
Gobert to Phoenix?
Oh, God, don't.
Hey, Carl, that's not a bad,
Towns, yeah. Not the other guy. Not COVID boy.
Okay. All right. All right, let's move on before we get into any more trouble. Okay, Jeremy Grant, we mentioned this, has been traded to the Portland Trail Blazers for a 2025 first-round pick. That's Milwaukee. I remember when I saw the wording of this, I thought he got traded to the Bucks because it was so weird the way
Jordan thought that too. I saw his Twitter.
I was like, oh, wow, like he's going to Milwaukee. That's crazy. I'm like, wow, Milwaukee's the overwhelming favorite. Then he's going to... But then I saw Portland. I'm like, okay, I'm the idiot here. But, okay, guys.
Yeah, you just misunderstood Woj's tweet. Woj is amazing with tweets.
Yeah, a little scumbag. But he, okay, so, you know what's weird is that when my boy said this, and I was like, yes. He said, I don't know how to describe it, but Jeremy Grant just feels like a Portland Trail Blazer type of player. And I'm just like, I can't describe that. I can't give you an analysis of what that means, but yes, Jeremy Grant is such a Portland Trail Blazers type of player. Like, and then he brought this name up, and I was like, yeah, he's also a Portland Trail Blazers type of player. Like Harrison Barnes, like these above average type players that do not move the needle, but like they're decent. That's Jeremy Grant, in my opinion. Well, look, they solved their 4 issue because the Blazers have always lacked with the power forwards here. So you get some scoring next to Damian Lillard. I believe that this means that they're not going to enter the rebuild here. Yeah, I mean, I think Jeremy Grant to Portland is always inevitable. Like, that smoke was always there. So they finally get him. I mean, how much better does this make them? I don't know. I get obviously for compared to last year, like, there's going to be some improvement, but like, I don't know. He's a good player. I think a lot of people overrate him. I don't think he's a needle mover here. I mean, he'll be next to Dame, so he's not going to have to carry the offensive load as much as he did in Detroit, but he did well when he was in Denver when he didn't have to be the primary focus. I don't know, man. Portland's weird because then there's also noise that they're going to trade the 7th pick for OG Anunoby. And, oh, man, I don't know. Is OG Anunoby worth the 7th pick, guys? I mean, it depends what Portland's doing. I don't know what Portland's doing. I just feel you get a better package for that 7th pick. I feel like there's enough whores in the NBA to, like, give you a better offer than OG Anunoby. I mean, if OG Anunoby, I don't know if he's due for a contract soon. I just know that
they already signed him, I think. They already signed him to his deal.
OG?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has a deal.
So what is this smoke that he wants out? Like, I don't understand. Like, I've heard that
before. I think it's the Raptors trying to just make way more in their front court because they have Scotty Barnes there and they have Gary
I could
Trent
see
Jr.
that. Yeah, so he might feel the odd man out.
He signed a 4 for 72.
When?
Last year.
Yeah, I think this is the first year on that no, this is the second year on that contract.
Second year, yeah.
Okay, so he's got 2 years left?
With a player option, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean it's not that bad in terms of like trading. I don't know, but you're right, Jurg. I think the front court for Toronto is a little bit stacked, so he might feel his role is diminishing. Portland though, I mean look, not bad if like your front court involves Jeremy Grant and OG Anunoby, because I'm assuming OG would play the 3, or those two are interchangeable. I don't know if I don't know. That's such a weird fit. Those two players. I mean,
Listen, it just doesn't excite me. Like it's just not exciting to me,
it
and I
doesn't
don't
excite me, but like
it doesn't. I don't think it moves the needle either. Like I just think they're gonna be stuck in the middle.
where what is the distance? What
What's
is
the
the
direction that they're trying to go in? I don't
No,
know.
I'm done with the direction thing with them, with this piece of shit team, bro. I'm saying, what is the distance? What is the difference in distance that you made by getting OG Anunoby and Jeremy Grant than when you had Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum?
And
I like
Robert Covington and Norman Powell.
like they're gonna be stuck in that 6-7 seed. They'll get bounced in the first or second round. Damian Lillard's
If
not
they
gonna
even
run.
make the playoffs, are we sure they're gonna make the playoffs with that team?
You
Like
tell
I'm
me,
not.
bro. I know you're a Dame Lillard dude,
I
but
am, but I'm not positive on them making the playoffs.
also,
Like
what happens with Nurkic? Like, do you resign Nurkic? How much money does he command? Is there a market for him? Maybe he wants more money. But like a Lillard, whatever the two is. I mean, Anthony Simons or Josh Hart, but let's just say that Anthony Simons for this week. Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, OG Anunoby, Jeremy Grant, and Yusuf Nurkic are decent, but like, who's like, what do you expect to go with that team? Like, I don't know. Do I feel bad for Damian Lillard? Nope, not at all. I do not care. I do not care. Don't. Yeah,
He's brought upon himself.
yeah. It's the same thing with the Beal situation, but I think like a lot of people will respect Lillard more. This whole not running for the grind shit, like it's a meme at this point, but it's also true. Like I don't know. Again, Lillard's not going to win a championship anytime soon. I don't think he will win one in his career. That's just me. Um, I respect the fact that he's not going to like these super teams, but then again, like I don't know, this whole process is annoying to me. Just the Blazers in general. Like maybe it's more so the front office and like their lack of creativeness in terms of like I don't know. It's just they gotta look at themselves in the mirror, bro. It's just OG Anunoby and Jeremy Grant, bro. Like what? Like yeah, it's and I'm not like I don't mean to like say that they're bad players. They're really good players, but like again, it doesn't move the needle, and that's kind of a disservice to Damian Lillard. Is it wrong to assume that maybe he has like his voice in this in terms of like the moves that they're making? But I don't know. He tweeted once that he's not involved as much as we thought he would
I
be.
think they ask him, but he probably
Yeah, he doesn't care.
he gives his 2 cents, which
Yeah,
his 2 cents, there are a lot of 2 cents more important in this world, like the Our 2 Cents podcast on
this
YouTube.
guy.
But Damian Lillard's 2 cents in terms of Portland, like I think he he lets him know, like, okay, I like that move. He probably says, like, they probably ask him, like, do you like OG and Jeremy? Yes. Would you like to be teammates with them? Sure. And then they just go from there. I think that's all it is. Like if he's not heavily involved, I think they're just letting him know, like, hey, we could get these guys. Are you cool with it? He probably just says, like, sure.
Yeah, he seems like a chill, like whatever dude. Like yeah, just whatever makes us better, I guess. Because Lillard's the type to be like, well, I could make it work. I could make something out of nothing work. That's what his personality screams. Don't forget, they have to pay Anthony Simon soon.
Don't they have to pay him this year?
They gotta pay him somehow. I don't know, like, well, the Caps. My God, bro,
this seems just a disaster, bro.
I mean, here's the thing. Remember, you can go over for the guys you sign. Like they can pay him.
Right?
Just, like,
No, and
then it just limits you to what you can bring out from the outside, though.
True.
And they should pay Simons. I think we were all like advocating they should trade Lillard, get this rebuild going. You have Anthony Simons. Simons is a great, young core to like build your team around.
He is a free agent, by the way. Anthony Simons. He's a restricted free agent. Like he's.
Oh, he might get paid.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm trying to understand the way that Spotrac has it here. I want to say that they've extended the qualifying offer. From what I'm seeing here, so there's that. Yeah, but like just. Portland's a mess. Like even with like here's the thing. So my perspective, I think OG and Jeremy are much welcome additions.
Sure.
I think they are the best front court that Dame will have had in a while there since like Aldridge left and Batum. Because remember there was that one summer where like they lost Matthews, Batum, Aldridge, and one more player. I forget who it was. And that's what elevated CJ into the starting spot. I think this is the best front court duo that he's going to have had in a while. What happens with Nurkic, who knows? But like you guys said at the end, like this is a needle mover for Portland specifically. Like internally, externally, this is not a needle mover for any of us. So it's like, you're making these trades, like you said, Chris. Like, is OG really worth the 7th pick? No, but at the same time, look at the trades that have happened recently. Like, I was surprised that Jeremy Grant, they were able to get rid of they were just gonna be able to trade a 2025 pick, just because I was trying to follow the machinations of what happens in the NBA and how trades go.
I
Uh,
Go ahead, Jurg. Sorry.
well, I'm saying I think the Grant trade was amazing value. I think it was very fair value. I don't know if I don't think they're going to get that value here with the OG trade. So it's like at that point you got OG and Grant. Okay, nice. Now you have no 7th overall pick. I almost wish that they could keep that 7th overall pick and get one more piece there to help out Dame, because I think OG Grant and Dame fine, but you could go my bad, OG Dame Grant and that 7th overall pick. I think that could be even better, but it's probably not going to happen. So again, it's Portland. Like, they have a very brief W, but they're probably going to take an L in this offseason at some point.
You're right, Jurg. You're right. I think, for what they got, for what they traded for Jeremy Grant, it's a steal. It's a steal. By the way, I cannot believe that's all it took to get him.
Yeah,
Wow, I thought it would take a little bit more. My God, bro, a first rounder from Milwaukee,
in 2025.
which is absurd. Like, wow, I guess they. I want to know like the logistics behind that. Like, I don't. Yeah, but like, dude, come on. I mean, but you still got to improve your team. You're telling me you couldn't have gotten like at least like not like a crazy blue chipper, but like something like that.
But Portland doesn't have one that's under contract.
No, but like anyone else though, it could didn't have to be. They didn't have to trade with Portland.
I think, but remember, like, as stupid as it is,
He does
Detroit,
not. No, no, no. You're not
Detroit
going
is
to give
going
him
to
an
honor him.
explanation. You don't
No,
give him.
Detroit made it kind of clear subliminally they were going to honor whatever trade that Jeremy Grant wanted. And
Does
if
he have
wanted
that
one-
clout in the NBA where
No,
he's
he
demanding
doesn't.
that shit?
But this is why bad organizations stay bad, because you
Yeah,
could have gotten more.
that's a good
So
point. Yeah. All right. Enough talk about this. All right. Let's see. Let's move on. Oh, I saw this report. There was. I don't know how much merit there is into it, but like there was like a possible discussion between the Hawks and the Spurs about a deal that centers around John Collins and DeJounte Murray. Now, apparently, the talks didn't go far, and then it was said that the Spurs said that it would take a Drew Holiday like package to move DeJounte Murray. If I'm the Spurs, I'm not moving DeJounte Murray. That's my guy going forward, right? Like he's an
Max
all-star.
player.
He is. That's your guy going forward. I think he's due for a contract in like 2 years, I believe, in 2024. But I don't know why the Spurs would want to trade him. I always thought John Collins would be a decent player for the Spurs. Not trading DeJounte Murray. Absolutely not. Like, you're just starting. You're already in a rebuild. Why would you want to go back? Like why would you want to go 3 steps behind here by trading your franchise cornerstone? People maybe blew it out of proportion because maybe it was just names that are brought up, but I would not even entertain DeJounte Murray getting traded. I mean, I guess like no one's untouchable if you're the Spurs, but he should be the only untouchable one. But yeah, I mean, I guess thoughts on this not too much smoke type of deal, but also John Collins is, I think, all but gone. I think it's all but confirmed that he's going to be gone. Where do you guys see John Collins going? I know there's talk about maybe Sacramento. There was also like a very minor report that maybe the Celtics would touch upon this deal for John Collins. Where do we see John Collins going? I mean, he does make a shit ton of money, so we can't forget that. He's a good offensive player, but that contract is a little bit OD. So, thoughts on this Spurs Hawks possibility, and where do we see John Collins headed to? Dame, let me start off with you.
Well, I don't know who the Hawks think John Collins is with they're trying to center around a deal around him to get DeJounte Murray. And I get it that why they're trying to trade him, because that I guess he makes too I think he's overpaid. Or I don't did he get his contract?
5
Or
for
is he
125 last season.
that's way too much for a guy like him. He's not as I don't even think he's a star at this point, honestly. And I think DeJounte Murray's a 25-year-old upcoming star. Oh, he's a star now, but he's 25 years old and just getting better. I don't know what else they were trying to package around that, but I just don't see how that deal would ever work out. Where John Collins could go, I really have no idea, because if they're shooting for the stars that high, I don't think there's a team in the league that's going to pay that price or anything near that. Um, which makes me think that he's just gonna go to some shitty organization that's just gonna actually overpay,
Sacramento.
like you mentioned, the Kings. Yeah, that definitely be a team that would do that just because of the Kings. They already have a bonus, and they, you know, they've done the Fox, Halliburton, and some other guard combination. So why not just put two fours together as well? So I'd probably see John Collins going to some bad team that's just gonna actually pay the price that the Hawks are looking for. But I definitely don't understand why the Hawks are looking to move on from him because of all the money he makes. They want to be able to get rid of that money and give themselves some kind of flexibility to actually improve enough with that money that he's making instead of having him on the roster and kind of being stuck at where they are.
Jurg?
Yeah, no, I don't know where he could go really because John Collins himself is just not that tantalizing of a player. And so you look at like you said, 5 years, 125. So $25 million. It's not
Unreal, bro.
it's not unmovable. Like we have seen worse contracts get moved. So there is a scenario out there where he could get moved. Now again, here's the problem. You just start listing teams in this league and who could maybe go after him, and you just need to start questioning it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, cuz I'm looking across the league right now and I don't see a team that, like, why would they willingly want to take on John Collins? Like, you have the Pacers, like maybe they could use a power forward, but like what on that roster would they give up? Like maybe that's when you give up Buddy Hield, maybe put a shooter next to Trey Young, like Buddy Hield and
Another
somebody like,
shooter though.
I mean, it's the Hawks. What, like, are we
Yeah, but
surprised?
like that, if they're trying to get better, then like you're not getting better with that. I'm sorry.
But so maybe if, I mean, I don't think they should make this deal, but if the Washington Wizards get desperate, maybe could they consider a John Collins trade for some really weird reason, even though they have Porzingis, Kuzma, Rui Hachimura, like they stacked up on fours last year. Why wouldn't they do it again? I look out west, like, yeah, there's Sacramento is an option. Um, it could be, and I kind of, if you go on the Somewhat Sports IG and we did our lottery mock, which was, I mean, it'll already have been released when you all listen to this, but we have a power forward going to OKC at the 12th pick. Maybe OKC takes a shot, be like, let's just add him, see what he could do. Maybe they recoup value for him at a future point. They have assets that they could give up, including the 12th overall pick. Like, and again, here's the thing: in a rebuild, you don't want just a million rookies on your team. You need a couple veterans there. So maybe could John Collins be a guy that's just there to help, like these young guys can just see what it's like to be a veteran in this game, maybe, and they have random young pieces on this roster that they could give up, and it's not necessarily going to hurt them in regards to, like, what these guys could do, because we don't really know what a lot of them can do in the NBA. Like, I don't see a team necessarily that should be screaming for John Collins' contract. And for the Spurs specifically, like, just why would you want to give up DeJounte Murray? Like,
To be fair, I don't think the Spurs brought him up. I think the Hawks brought him up.
and that's a fair assumption, and it wouldn't be a surprise. But if you're the Spurs, like, this should be that. It's like, the GMs are talking. It's like, hey, you may want to get rid of John. We may have some interest in him. What would you want? DeJounte Murray? Hello? 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 Still there? Hello? Hello? Like, the line would be hung up. Like, that conversation should not go any further. It's like, yes, DeJounte Murray for John Collins. In what world? In no multiverse, would that happen? And if it happens in another universe, it's madness. So I think ultimately Atlanta just has to settle with him for at least another year. What they need to do is try to get that Gallinari contract off the books, because, dear God, that contract's not looking good. Um, Bogdanovich needs to step up. They had the whole Clint Capella situation. Like, maybe Atlanta could be a low key suitor for Rudy Gobert, where they're able to.
Oh, right. We talked about that last week, right? The
Yeah,
package offer.
yeah, maybe Capella and Gallinari could be in that package for Gobert. Who knows? But yeah, Atlanta's kind of a mess right now, and it's a team that made a conference finals run a year ago. But and I wasn't as hard on them as I should have been when we were doing, like, our preseason stuff, like, before this NBA season started. But I said this about the Knicks. I said you cannot go into the season with the exact same roster with only one different player and expect to take a next level. And my thought process was the same with Atlanta. I just didn't say it enough, so I apologize for that. But yeah, they essentially came in with the same roster this year, no improvements, and yeah, they struggled, and they were lucky of the play-in because they were able to make the playoffs, and they got royally smacked by a real team. in 5. So, and they were lucky that that series went 5. So, I think if you're Atlanta, this was an eye opener of like they need to make changes. And sometimes you could be as desperate as you want to change your roster, but that doesn't always mean you get to make the changes because there's just what on this team do you want to take? Like, what on this team do you want?
I think because they made the Eastern Conference Finals, Jurg, that they were just like, we don't have to make that many crazy moves.
Yeah,
Little
we're
did they
young. They're
know.
gonna improve.
Yeah. Like I don't care about the Hawks imploding either. Piece of shit team. They got complacent. They got comfortable. All right. Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many things that could happen. I think a lot of things will happen tonight with the draft being like literally 5 hours away from when we're recording.
Julius
Last
Randle and the
so
11th pick for 4, please.
I wish, bro. You're from your lips to God's ears. Oh, let's finish off with this. The draft is tonight. There's bound to be a lot of moves. The betting odds change. Apparently, Paulo Banchero is the odds are favored for him to go number 1.
Didn't Paulo push back his Orlando workouts? Like,
They just got in contact with him last night on Wednesday, because he canceled, I think, on them. I think it's smoke. I think they're going Jabari Smith. Just go Jabari Smith. It's the safest pick. Chet, I think, is going number 2 to OKC, and then Paulo Banchero is going 3 to Houston. I think that's a lock. I think those 3 are the locks. I think after that is kind of where there's anarchy going around. I mean,
draft starts at 4.
Draft starts at 4. I hate this, bro. I really hope, I don't know. I don't want to get spoiled, man. I hate that shit because, I'm going to be on the lookout to see if there's a trade, but then if they're just going to announce the picks as, that's the update from Twitter, I'm like, fuck. I mean, look, the Kings could very well just draft Jaden Ivey just to hold on to him because there's so much interest in him that they're just going to use him as a bargaining chip for, trade packages.
I mean, that actually would be smart.
Exactly, which is why I don't think it'll happen. So, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a lot of movement. I think Malcolm Brogdon is for sure gone. John Collins, I think there was a report that the Hawks are operating as if he's traded. I don't know how that works, but
it's really bold when he's still on the roster.
Yeah. What kind of splash are you guys seeing happening tonight in terms of trades? Like, realistically, we could involve picks, whatever you guys think. Do you guys think? Do you think?
I'm just gonna try to manifest this Knicks thing.
Yeah,
I don't think the Knicks. Whether it's moving up or moving back though. I'm not saying that it's gonna necessarily be to move up to 4, but they could move up to 7, move up to something else, or I think they move back. I don't see them staying at 11.
Me neither. But I just want Jaden Ivey, bro. Do you guys think Sacramento trades the pick before the draft, not after?
No, not before. No.
Okay.
My hunch is that they just don't trade it.
What scumbags, bro?
They may not. Here's the thing. They may not get Jaden Ivey. They may just go with Keegan Murray and just.
They should go with Keegan Murray, but I get why they would pick Jaden Ivey. Well, look, if the Kings don't pick Jaden Ivey, and he slips to Detroit, I think Detroit takes him easy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham would actually be really fun to watch. But oh my god,
and then they could just offer sheet Ayton at the end of the day, and
that is true. And if that were, my god, can you imagine that a Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and DeAndre Ayton? I cannot believe this. The Pistons might be one of the funnest teams next year.
Yeah.
But alas, here we are. Any final comments on what might happen tonight?
I think, just generally speaking, I'm not sure if this will happen tonight, but I think the 5th pick. It depends. If it's a non-Jaden Ivey player, I think the 5th pick is going to be traded in a DeAndre Ayton sign and trade. And I think Portland is going to end up trading the 7th pick for OG, just because I think Masai Ujiri, we spoke about this last week, you're not going to fleece him. He's going to get that 7th pick back. So I think that's going to happen. And then in the next batch of teams, I think watch out for the Pelicans, the Thunder, and the Cavaliers to at least be in discussions either during or after their selection to trade that pick for a player at some point. I think those teams, especially the Pelicans and the Cavs, I think would be more than willing to try to make that trade, considering the playoff, well, at least making the playoffs for Pelicans and almost making the playoffs and should have been in the playoffs for Cleveland. I think those teams are going to focus on getting more like NBA ready now players on their teams. And I think OKC, again, like I said, you can't just have a rebuild with a million rookies on your team. That's not how it works. You need to have some veterans. I could see OKC trading the 12th pick for like a decent player on a mid-tier team, just to get a veteran in there, just to be like, there's a cap floor. God damn it, you have to meet the cap floor, and like a vast majority of the roster is like Pokashevsky and Maladon and Robinson Earl. Like they need other players on this team, so that's that. I could see those three teams in the back half of the lottery making moves.
I heard that OKC might try to want to move up. Well, I think they want to try to get no, not Jaden Ivey, but Shaden Sharp. That's
That
why
can
they're trying to
happen.
move up, because I mean that's just assuming that Shaden Sharp will be available in like the 8 to 10 range.
I mean, he might be. Like, it's
He
no
might,
guarantee
he
the
might, but
Pacers take him or the Blazers.
they have the assets to make it happen. But
I mean, let's be real here. They have the assets to make any trade happen.
yeah, yo, I'll say this: if OKC ends up with Chet Holmgren, and Shaden Sharp this draft, that's a huge W. Oh my God, is that a W? Because then we're looking at a lineup of Josh Giddey, Shaden Sharp, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and whoever their 5 is. Or you could put Chet at the 5, which, oh man, that would be rough. But then you put Lou Dort at the 4. Either way,
Pokashevsky better not be getting burned, because Chet and Pokashevsky as a front court would be just.
I think them combined would still not be able to have the same amount of mass as, like, I don't know. I don't want to throw LeBron because that's an OP. But my God,
skinny.
Skinny as fuck.
Need some sandwiches on that team.
Sandwiches, bro. All right, that's all I got for this week. Yeah, what a week. What noise. I was hoping news would break while we were recording so we could talk about it and get live reactions, but nothing, because dudes want to wait until like the witching hour. So, Jurg, where can they find us on the socials?
Guys, you already know you can follow us at SomeWhat.Sports on Instagram to, check up on our stories. We keep posting polls for the Stanley Cup Final. And like I said, like we alluded to today, and it'll have already been up for a day or two once you're listening to this, but we do have our mock lottery results up there. Our panel of experts, aka the three of us, put our brains together and decided what our 1 through 14 would look like. How right are we? How wrong are we? Who went up in the draft? Who fell from what we have? You'll be able to see what we did and be like, hey, these guys know what they're talking about, or hey, they're kind of stupid. Why did they think like this? So, that's a wait and see. We're open to critique there. And, speaking of which, if you want to comment on stuff that we talked about in this episode, agree, disagree with any of our takes, you're more than welcome to. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Somewhat Spaced in Sports, and then same thing on Spotify. 5-star rating, listen into the episode, let us know, give us a review on there. Again, Somewhat Spaced in Sports on Spotify. Best sports podcast out there, guys. It is the summer of 2022, and that means it's Somewhat Sports season, baby. Let's get it.
Beautifully said, as always, Jurg. Yeah, tonight's a big night, and we're going to review everything that happens in the next week, because next week should be a crazy episode, all things considered. And we also got NHL news, as Jurg will talk about. So just keep up, follow us, subscribe, all the good stuff. We appreciate you. Jurg and Dane, phenomenal job as always. To all the listeners listening, if you made it this far, love you to death. And until next time, peace.